is there. And so that's what this On Texas Back Roads is just a collection of these kind of little tapes.
Did you take the title on Where Dreams Die Hard?
Yes, I did. No.
Working title?
My title was Hinterland. I never have so many titles. But I like Where Dreams Die Hard. One of my favorite visits after the book came out, April, you're going to remember this. It was the next season. And I thought probably, what hoopla there was involved in the book would have died down. And so I was, before the game, standing along the fence talking to somebody. And April, whose job was always to lead the little elementary kids out onto the field to cheer the team on, came over to me and she said, "You're going to want to watch the banner that the cheerleaders have made, that the players run through, that butcher paper thing." And so I looked down there in the end zone and they unfurled it. And on it said, where dreams die hard. And I think that was the year that you guys started winning. You started getting, into the playoffs and that sort of thing. And that was very moving to me. Yes?
What kind of research did you do to decide on Penelope to write the book?
Very little. I had an interest in six-man football. I had seen a number of six-man football games over the years, enjoyed it, enjoyed the atmosphere. And so I was looking for a place to basically retell the story I'd told sometimes before about small-town Texas, small-town football. This is, light years removed from all of the big stadiums, big money, all of that. But the way I determined that Penelope was a good place for me to go was I got out a Texas map and saw that it was about as close a six-man team. Most of the six-man schools are out in far west Texas. And I live in Cedar Hill, which is a suburb basically of Dallas. And so I didn't want to go, 300 or 400 miles. And Penelope was close. And thought, well, I'll go try that, see how that works. And as I say, it was a serendipitous sort of, this is where I'm supposed to be. These are the people I'm supposed to write about. And it worked, at least for me. Yes.
Have you seen any of the six-man championship games in the last few years at AT&T Stadium?
On TV, I've seen, one of them was televised, as I recall. I haven't been out there, no. I guess it's great that they're doing that, but I just don't see six-man football being played in Jerry World.
They have to put different goalposts.
Yeah, oh yeah. Got to make it an 80-yard field and bring in the sidelines and all that. But it's great that it's getting that exposure, on that kind of stage. But I'd rather go to, my first experience with six-man football was when I was in high school in Abilene. And the 6- and 8-man coaching school was at McMurray every summer. And I would go out to McMurray to watch the All-Star games. And 8-man football kind of died, went by the wayside, I don't know when. But that was my first exposure to six-man football. And then as an adult, I enjoyed just watching it. So I think, is our time about up? All right, got maybe one more question if anybody's got anything.
So
You obviously enjoy writing about sports. Why venture away into true crime and other things when sports seems to be more of a passion?
Why get away from sports to write true crime books, of which I've written a number, including one set here in Waco titled Careless Whispers. I had been in the newspaper business for quite some time, writing sports. The last 8 years covering the Dallas Cowboys for the Dallas Morning News. Thoroughly enjoying, but I had kind of reached a point where I couldn't think of another question to ask Roger Staubach. I had gotten to the point where I wanted to do something different as a writer. I knew that probably didn't include staying in the newspaper business much longer. Also, I knew I wanted to write something that would allow me to explore the widest range of human emotion possible. I had no idea what that was or what I was talking about until your friend and mine, Ned Butler, who was the assistant district attorney in McLennan County at the time, and an old high school teammate of mine, called from the airport one day, DFW, saying, hey, I'm on my way back to Waco. And I said, well, stop by and have dinner with us. He did. And he told me about this case that they were going to go to trial on, the Lake Waco murders. And the more he talked about it, the more fascinating I became. To the point where my wife and I would drive from Cedar Hill to Waco every day to attend this trial. By the time that trial ended, I knew what I was going to do. It was just a matter of figuring out how to do it. Because I'd never written crime stories. I'd never been a police reporter. The first trial I ever saw, except for on Law and Order, was the one I attended in the McLennan County Courthouse. But I saw a story there that was so powerful and that did explore that wide range of human emotion. And so I wrote Careless Whispers. And it enjoyed success that I hadn't anticipated, recognition. And so when I talked to my editor and I said, boy, have I got a great idea for my next book. And I'd tell him what it was, and you could almost hear him yawn over the phone. And when I finished with my pitch, it would be, you need to write another true crime book. Okay. So for a number of years, that's what I did. Usually took a couple of years to research and write one, but I did one called Innocence Lost. It was set in Midlothian about a young high school kid who murdered an undercover police officer. I did one down in Alvin, Texas, near Houston. I'd always wanted to do as long as I was doing true crime, I wanted to do one where my protagonist was a female. You don't have too many female homicide investigators that do, but this young 2-year-old child was murdered by her father. Everybody, just about, including the medical examiner, didn't feel like it was a homicide, except for Detective Sue Dietrich with the Alvin Police Department. And when I read this short article in the Houston paper, I just happened to be in the Houston airport for something. And when I read Detective Sue Dietrich, I'm going to visit with her. And then I found out that the prosecutor on the case would be a female named Jerry Yenny. And that the grandmother of the victim was a private investigator. And these three women, by working together, made this case of 2-year-old Renee, who was killed by her father. Really a powerful story of how none of these women could have done it by themselves. But the three of them together, they were hell on wheels. And it made a great story. So I did some of those until I finally, the last one I did was a story of a series of homicides in Wichita Falls that one guy committed. And it's interesting, I'm not going to recap that one for you, but I did, when I first got a call, I'd already decided I've done all the true crime I need to do. And this young